I said to him, wants aren't standards, brother. They're completely different. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Winning Standard. Today, I want to talk about standards because a lot of people have wants and they have needs, but they don't have high standards and they're completely different. And I'll show you how to tell the difference between these. I figured out this framework a long time ago, and it was because I was studying something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in the hierarchy of needs, he was talking about how through the evolution of our own psychology, we go from psychological needs like safety and security and a roof over our head. Then we move up into like food and so on. And then eventually you get up into self-actualization, which is where you get to be yourself. What I realized though was that there was a massive gap. And having worked now with tens of thousands of people, potentially influencing hundreds of thousands of people, and then there's probably thousands of business owners now that I've worked with also, what I noticed was that there was this common pattern that keeps coming up in communication. If you want to have great leadership, you need to have great communication, which means you need to listen to the words that people use and understand what they mean. Because most people don't say what they're thinking, they say what they think you want them to say, or they say what they think you want to hear, or they do it to get an emotional trigger out of you, or some reason. The better you get at leadership, the better you get at listening and understanding why people communicate in the way that they do. And there's not just verbal communication, there's tonality, there's body language, and so on. So I was listening to a lot of the clients that I work with and the people who are in our Odyssey community and people who come to my Thrive Time event and other events. And what I noticed was that the people who were stuck the most lived in needs. So they would say things like, I have to go to work, which is a need, or I need to go to work, or I need to make money, or I need to get a job, or I need to pay bills. And so their whole life was based on this language pattern of need. I need to do things. I need to go to the gym. That pattern is very heavy. It's very uncomfortable. It feels like you're dragging this weight around with you. And the majority of people that I heard or listened to use needs. But what I found is that after a while, like let's say someone goes and they get a job or they start a business and they go, I need to work, I need to make money, I need to have an income. Eventually they start achieving some goals. And so they start making money. What I notice is that they start to drift out of needs and then they get into wants. They move into wants and then they start doing some of the things that they want to do. So it might be like, I need to go to the gym. But now I want to eat a Mars bar. Or I need to make money because they're struggling, they're in survival mode. Then they go in, you know what, I want to buy a new car. So they move into wants. And I've seen this happen a lot. Like a lot of people when they goal set, especially if they're highly driven or highly ambitious, they'll say things like, I want a new house, I want to retire, I want money in my investment account. And so they have a lot of wants. Needs is dragging around a massive weight. It's an obligation. Wants, though, creates a lot of pressure. And that pressure is great because it creates expansion. Like when you want to have more money or when you want to live a better lifestyle or when you want a holiday, you work hard for it. So it's part of growth. There's nothing wrong with this. It's part of growth, but it's not an effective growth. What I found happens is that people who go from needs to wants will get their wants. They'll work hard for their wants, but it tends to be in the future. So they go from like, I need to work because they're in survival mode. Then now I want a new car. So then they buy the new car. But then I found a very interesting pattern is that most people then go, crap, I need to pay for the car. So now they've just gone from needs to wants back to needs. Well, I need to work really, really hard because I want a holiday. Then they go on the holiday and then they come back and they go, crap, I need to work again, or I have to work, which is a need. I have to work again because I need to pay off the holiday. What I found is the majority of society, 80 to 90% of society spend their whole life in wants and needs and wants and needs and wants and needs. Need is survival and want is something in the future that they don't currently have, and it makes them feel a certain way. So the majority of people who are listening to this right now, I guarantee you probably live in a large amount of your life in either wants or needs or a mixture of both, and it depends on the ratio. Someone who is like at 80% needs and 20% wants, they will be living in survival mode. They'll be struggling day to day, and they'll be living almost day to day and week to week, max. If someone spends a lot of their time in wants, like I want a new house, I want a new car, I want to retire, I want an investment, they will be normally pretty driven if they're spending 80% of their time there and 20% of their time in needs. They'll be extremely driven, highly ambitious, but they'll be burning out. They'll be frustrated. They'll never feel the way that they want to feel. Another example of this is a lot of people come to me and they say, I want financial freedom. That's a want. When you want financial freedom, that tells me that you're trapped. You're mentally trapped by money. You don't have a money trap. You're mentally trapped by money. And that pressure is creating a lot of drive, a lot of ambition, but it's also creating a lot of burnout, a lot of stress, a lot of undue pressure that you don't need. What I found is the greatest people that I've ever worked with and that I still continue to work with, some of my business partners in the tech companies that I own or the concrete company and even my team, the best people that I work with live in standards, which is the elevation above it. In standards, you don't have to do or be anything other than because it's your standard. So for example, if you want to buy a house, a lot of people go, well, I need a house. Cool, you're in needs. Then eventually, if you have the house for a long, long time, you work really, really hard, you go, you know what, I want to buy a new house. I want to buy a bigger house. I want to put a new kitchen in, so now you're in wants. But again, then you need to go to work and you need to have a job because you're trapped in that cycle. When you buy your dream home, you do it just because it's your standard. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to talk to anyone. It's just that this is what we're doing. People who live in standards don't justify themselves to everybody else. Okay? Why are you going to the gym? Well, because I need to go to the gym because I'm fat. That's a need. Why are you going to the gym? Well, I want to go to the gym. Okay, good. Why do you want to go to the gym? Well, because like it's important to me. And okay, good. Hey, why are you going to the gym? It's just my standard. I just go to the gym every day. When you do that, it removes all the pressure and you just do what you want to do. So I found that the highest performers in sport, in business that I've ever coached and that I've ever worked with, they just live in standards. People ask me all the time, why do you have a McLaren? Like it's stupid. Why do you have a supercar? Like it's dumb. And yeah, you're right. It is. It's dumb. Financially, it's dumb. But the thing is, it's my standard. That's just how I rock up. Why do you spend money on things? Like why do you fly business class? Because it's my standard. I don't have to justify it. It's just my standard. Why do you eat a certain way? Because it's my standard. Why do you have a sauna at your house? Because it's my standard. I don't want it. I don't need it. It's just my standard. When you do that, you live life in a completely different way. And what will happen is you start hanging out with standard-driven people. The cool people that I get to hang out with, I actually had this conversation last night. One of my business partners in the tech company, he lives in Cyprus. And he said, hey, look, me and another friend, we're looking at buying some planes. Do you want to come with us to America in September? And I said, sounds good. I just got to check calendar, check dates, and I'll get back to you. Now, he didn't justify it. He didn't say, hey, we have to go to America. He didn't say, it's like, that's what we're just doing because that's our standard. That's it. Your whole life will become completely different when you live by standards where you do not have to justify shit to yourself or others. If people question you, go, well, it's just my standard. It's a full stop. Whereas when you live in wants and needs, there's always a question. Okay, why are you doing this? Well, because that's what I want. Well, why do you want it? Well, because I have to, I need to, I should. Once you get to standards, it's just the way that it is. Driven Mofos, today is Monday. It's all about raising standards. I hope that from this episode, you're questioning yourself. How often do you use need, want, have to, should do versus standard? Because it will tell you everything about how you're living. The more you live by standards, the better your life's going to be, the more epic it's going to be. Driven Mofos, have a great day. Sharing's caring. Remember to share this episode and keep kicking ass. I'll see you on the next episode. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.